Most people think the hunt for Cleopatra is a dead end. But recently, a team led by the man who found the Titanic dropped multibeam sonar into the waters of Egypt. The results? Shocking. They mapped 6 miles of seafloor and found the three sisters. These are not rocks. They are pillars. Giant, ancient markers that line up perfectly with a tunnel discovered on land. Basically, the map to the afterlife has been found, and it leads straight to a place called Taposiris Magna. A lawyer, a map, and a massive discovery. You see, the truth is actually much wilder, and it involves a lot more than just lines of code. It involves a team of divers, a lawyer who refused to take no for an answer, and a massive underwater city that has been sitting in silence for centuries. We need to talk about what just happened at a place called Taposiris Magna. For the last 20 years, a woman named Kathleen Martinez has been digging in the dirt 30 miles west of Alexandria. She is not your typical academic. She was a lawyer in the Dominican Republic before she decided to solve the ultimate mystery. And for years, people told her she was wasting her time. They said Cleopatra was buried in Alexandria near her palace, which is now underwater. They said Taposiris Magna was just an unfinished temple, a backwater ruin that did not matter. But get this, Martinez found something that changed the conversation overnight. In late 2025, her team, working with high-tech sonar and imaging, uncovered a submerged harbor. This is not just a few scattered rocks. We are talking about a massive infrastructure project hidden beneath the waves of the Mediterranean. The sonar scans, assisted by predictive modeling, revealed a structure they are calling Solemn 5. It is a series of man-made ridges and limestone formations sitting about 50 feet down. When they ran the data, the dimensions were staggering. This wasn't a fishing village. This was a trade powerhouse. It proves that this unfinished temple was actually a bustling, wealthy port city during the exact time Cleopatra was alive. So why does a port matter? Because you do not build a massive international port for an empty temple. You build it for a queen. The scans revealed columns, huge ones. The divers call them the Three Sisters. These are massive pillars standing silent on the seafloor, covered in barnacles but unmistakably royal. They match the architecture of the Ptolemaic era, the dynasty of Cleopatra. But it gets crazier. Along with the columns, they found anchors. Big, heavy anchors that suggest massive ships docked here. Ships large enough to carry gold, grain, and perhaps a royal fugitive. The viral rumors about AI finding the tomb are a bit exaggerated, but everyone is obsessed with the tech for a reason. The team used multibeam sonar. This is the same kind of tech used by Bob Ballard, the guy who found the Titanic. Ballard himself got involved, mapping 6 miles of the seafloor around the area. He called it time travel underwater. When the sonar waves bounced back, they painted a picture of a landscape that vanished in AD 365. That year, a massive earthquake and tsunami slammed into the coast of Egypt. It liquefied the soil and dragged entire cities into the sea. For centuries, this harbor was erased from the map. But now, thanks to this imaging, we can see it again. And what we see is shocking. The layout of the harbor aligns perfectly with a tunnel found on land, a tunnel that looks suspiciously like a secret passage. Think about it. If you are the most powerful woman on earth and the Roman army is marching toward your front door, you do not just sit in your palace waiting to be captured. You have a plan B. You have an escape route. And if this harbor connects to the temple, it means Cleopatra could have moved people, treasure, and maybe even her own final resting place, right under the noses of her enemies. The data from the scan shows statue bases scattered on the ocean floor. These aren't just decorative. In ancient Egypt, statues were guardians. They marked sacred ground. The fact that they are here in this specific harbor suggests that this was a holy entry point. The crazy part is that this changes the entire timeline. Historians thought Taposiris Magna was quiet during Cleopatra's reign, but the sheer size of Solemn 5 proves it was active, wealthy, and important. It was the perfect place to hide something valuable, or someone. The discovery of the Three Sisters pillars has sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. It validates 20 years of digging. It validates the hunch that a lawyer from the Caribbean had when everyone else laughed. But the harbor is just the front door. To understand why she would hide here, we have to look at what lies behind the water, deep inside the rock. We are standing on the edge of the biggest discovery of the century, but the ocean isn't giving up its secrets easily. A geometric miracle underground. Finding a harbor is one thing, but finding the road that leads to it is another. And that is exactly what Kathleen Martinez did before the underwater breakthrough. In 2022, her team unearthed a tunnel that stunned the world. This wasn't a small hole in the ground, it was a geometric miracle. The tunnel is carved through solid rock. It is 6 feet high and stretches for over 4,300 feet. That is nearly a mile of digging through limestone bedrock. Archaeologists immediately recognized the style. It is almost an exact copy of the tunnel of Eupalinos in Greece, which is considered one of the greatest engineering feats of the ancient world. But this one, it is in Egypt, and it dates back to the Ptolemaic era. Why would anyone spend the money and manpower to carve a mile-long tunnel under a temple dedicated to Osiris and Isis? It wasn't for drainage. It wasn't for storage. The tunnel heads toward the sea. When you combine this land discovery with the Salam 5 harbor found underwater, the picture starts to snap into focus. This was a complex, a secure facility. What most people don't realize is the condition of the tunnel. Parts of it are submerged. It is muddy, dark, and dangerous. But inside, buried in the sediment, the team found coins. Not just any coins. They found 336 coins bearing the face of Queen Cleopatra. Also, they found bust of Alexander the Great. This is the smoking gun. In archaeology, context is everything. Finding a coin with her face on it in a tunnel under a temple she identified with is huge. It links her directly to the site. It proves she was here. She walked these grounds. Her people paid for this work. Kathleen Martinez has always believed that Cleopatra wasn't just a seductress, as the Romans painted her. She was a brilliant strategist. She was a linguist who spoke 9 languages. She was a scholar who studied poisons and medicine. She knew the end was coming. When Mark Antony lost the Battle of Actium, the writing was on the wall. The Roman legions were coming to Alexandria. Cleopatra knew that if she was caught, she would be paraded through the streets of Rome in chains. She would be a trophy. She would never allow that. So, the theory goes like this. She needed a place that was sacred, secure, and secret. Taposiris Magna is dedicated to Osiris and Isis. The legend says that Osiris was cut into pieces and Isis put him back together. Cleopatra believed she was the living incarnation of Isis. Mark Antony was her Osiris. It makes perfect sense that she would want to be buried in the temple of the embodied. But it's not that simple though. The tunnel collapsed in several places. The same earthquakes that sank the harbor also damaged the underground passages. This makes exploring them a nightmare. You can't just walk to the end. You have to dig, pump water, and shore up crumbling ceilings. Martinez has found incredible artifacts inside the temple complex itself. Golden tongues. Yes, golden tongues. They found mummies with tongues made of gold foil. In ancient Egyptian belief, this was done so the dead could speak to in the afterlife. These weren't commoners. These were elites, high-ranking officials. If the elite were being buried here, it means this was a royal cemetery. You don't bury the aristocracy in the middle of nowhere unless the nowhere is actually the center of something important. The tunnel connects the temple to the coast. The harbor connects the coast to the world. It creates a direct line of supply and escape. Imagine the scene. It is 30 BC. The Romans are closing in. A barge moves silently down the coast from Alexandria, docking at the Salam 5 harbor. Soldiers unload a heavy cargo, perhaps the bodies of a queen and her general, and move them through the tunnel deep into the bedrock beneath the temple. Then they seal it. They leave no marker, no pyramid, no sign, just the silence of the desert and the sea. For 2,000 years, the plan worked. But modern technology is stripping away the cover. The photogrammetry used on the site creates 3-dimensional models of the trenches. It allows the team to see the negative space, the places where things should be. The tunnel is the artery, but the heart is still hidden. Recent excavations have revealed a huge cemetery facing the temple. The mummies are facing the temple, not the east. This is unusual. It suggests that whatever or whoever is inside that temple is what they are looking toward. They are waiting for their queen. The tunnel leads us to the water, but the answers might be buried in the mud. Why she chose this spot? we need to step back and look at the woman herself. And that's putting it lightly. Cleopatra has been misunderstood for 2,000 years. We think of her as a beauty queen, thanks to Hollywood. But the coins found in the tunnel show a woman with a strong nose and a determined chin. She wasn't ruling because she was pretty. She was ruling because she was smart. She came to the throne at 18. She ruled until she was 39. That is 21 years of holding on to power while the Roman Empire was trying to eat her country alive. She knew the geography of Egypt better than anyone. Alexandria was her capital, but it was also a trap. It was a port city, easily blockaded. If she died there, the Romans would find her. Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus, wanted her alive. He wanted to humiliate her. Plutarch, the ancient historian, says she died by the bite of an asp, a venomous snake. He says she was found dead on her golden couch, but he also admits that no one knows the truth. That is the key. No one knows. The historic accounts were written by the victors, the Romans. They controlled the narrative. They wanted her to look weak and tragic. But Martinez argues that Cleopatra staged her own death as a final act of rebellion, and part of that rebellion was denying Rome her body. Yeah, about that. The choice of Taposiris Magna is strategic. It is built on a limestone ridge that separates the Mediterranean Sea from Lake Mariaut. It is a fortress as much as a temple. By identifying as Isis, Cleopatra wasn't just being dramatic. It was a political move. Isis was the universal mother. She was magic. She was resurrection. If Cleopatra could be buried in a temple of Isis alongside Antony, her Osiris, she would be closing the loop on a divine story. She would be immortalized not as a defeated queen, but as the discovery of the Salam 5 port supports this theory of a planned, elaborate funeral rite. You don't just drag a royal sarcophagus across the desert sand. You move it by water. The Nile connects to Lake Mariaut. The sea connects to the harbor. She had options. The Three Sisters columns found underwater might have been part of a grand entrance for this final journey. And the gold mummies found in the rock-cut tombs nearby, they are the courtiers, the loyalists, the people who stayed with her until the bitter end. They wanted to be buried near her. It is a pattern we see in Egyptian history. The pharaoh is the sun, and the court orbits around them, even in death. One specific find stands out: a bust of the Isis, beautifully carved, and a hoard of coins minted during the war with Rome. This proves the site was being funded and maintained right up until the collapse of her empire. It wasn't an abandoned ruin, it was an active sanctuary. Basically, the pieces are all here: the motive, the means, the opportunity. The Romans searched for her body. They never found it. They eventually gave up and let the story fade into myth. But the geology didn't forget. The earthquakes that flooded the harbor also collapsed the entrance to the main tomb chambers. Nature accidentally did exactly what Cleopatra wanted. It sealed her in. Now, with the new sonar data, we are seeing beneath the rubble. The predictive AI models are suggesting void spaces deep underground that physical digging hasn't reached yet. These voids could be nothing, or they could be rooms. Rooms filled with the last treasures of the Ptolemaic dynasty, scrolls, gold, and 2 sarcophagi that have not seen the light of day since the Roman Republic fell. The stage is set, but the curtain hasn't been fully lifted yet. Time travel underwater. But here is the catch. Exploring this site is a nightmare. You are dealing with visibility that is sometimes near zero. The water is murky. The currents are strong. And you are working in a debris field created by a massive tsunami. This is where the tech comes in. This isn't about digging with shovels anymore. It is about scanning with sound. The multibeam sonar used by the team works by sending out sound waves that bounce off the seafloor. By measuring how long it takes for the sound to return, the computer builds a 3D map of the bottom. It is like stripping away the water. When Bob Ballard joined the search, he brought a level of expertise that is unmatched. This is the guy who found the Bismarck and the Titanic. He knows how to read the ocean floor. His ship, the Nautilus, is equipped with remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and advanced mapping systems. They covered 6 miles of the coast. What they found was a landscape of destruction. They could see where the land used to be before the ground liquefied. They could see the ancient coastline, And right where the calculations said the harbor should be, the sonar lit up. The Salam 5 structure appeared as a distinct, organized set of lines in a chaotic seabed. Nature doesn't make straight lines. Humans do. The photogrammetry took it a step further by taking thousands of photos of the underwater ruins and stitching them together digitally. The team created a virtual reality model of the port. They can now walk through the ruins on a computer screen. They can measure the columns without touching them. They can see the layout of the breakwaters. This data is crucial because it allows them to target their dives. They aren't just jumping in and hoping for the best. They are going down with a map. And get this, the AI aspect comes into play with data processing. The amount of data generated by these scans is massive. Algorithms help sort through the noise, distinguishing between a rock and a carved block, between a natural ridge and a wall. This tech is what identified the three sisters amidst the rubble. But technology has limits. It can tell you where to dig, but it can't tell you what is inside until you actually go there. The divers described the experience as eerie. One diver surfaced and said, "It is like the Queen's backyard, columns everywhere." They found basalt blocks. Basalt is a hard, black volcanic rock. It was often used for royal statues and temple floors. Finding it here, so far from the quarries, implies immense wealth. Every artifact they bring up adds a pixel to the picture. They have found pottery shards that date to the exact right period. They have found jewelry, but the biggest prize is still elusive. The sonar has pointed to potential entrances that are currently blocked by tons of fallen limestone. Moving that rock underwater is dangerous and expensive, but the team is convinced it is the only way forward. They believe that the tunnel on land and the structures underwater are part of a single massive puzzle. And for the first time in 2,000 years, we have all the corner pieces. The map is complete, but the door is still locked. What happens if we find her? So, is she there? It's not that simple though. Archaeology is a game of patience. Kathleen Martinez has been at this for 20 years. She has faced criticism, skepticism, and the brutal conditions of the Egyptian desert, but she hasn't quit. In the documentary Cleopatra's Final Secret, she made a promise. She said, "She died as Isis's daughter, not Caesar's conquest. This hunt is personal. The discovery of the submerged harbor changes the probability. Before this, Taposiris Magna was a maybe. Now it is the most likely candidate on the planet. We have a temple associated with her. We have a tunnel that matches the engineering of her time. We have coins with her face. We have elite burials with gold tongues. And now, we have a massive port capable of receiving a royal fleet. If she isn't here, then someone went to a lot of trouble to make it look like she was." What most people don't realize is that finding the tomb is just the beginning. If they open a sealed chamber, it will be the biggest discovery since King Tut in 1922. It would answer questions we have had for millennia. Was she really beautiful? DNA could tell us about her heritage. How did she die? Forensic analysis could prove or disprove the snakebite theory. Was Mark Antony buried with her? The viral posts about AI scanning the tomb are a bit ahead of reality. The AI hasn't seen inside the sarcophagus yet, but the tech has stripped away the invisibility cloak that protected this site for centuries. The shocking result isn't a single image. It is the realization that we have been underestimating this location for hundreds of years. We used to think of the past as dead and buried, but technology is making it transparent. The tunnel is real, the harbor is real, the columns are real. We are standing at the threshold. The water is murky and the rocks are heavy, but the path is clear. Whether they find a body or just an empty room, they have already rewritten history. They prove that Cleopatra was building for eternity, right under the noses of the empire that tried to erase her. She left us clues. We finally have the eyes to see them. So, what do you think? Is Cleopatra really hiding beneath the temple of Taposiris Magna? Or is this just another elaborate dead end? If they do find her, should they open the tomb or let her rest in peace? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries revealed.